In this video, I'm going to go through the most easy to fund deals that I've seen just based on where we're at with regards to helping people prepare their capital raises. And this is not obviously a definitive list or anything, but these are just based on what some of our clients and some of the people in our networks are experiencing in this current market. So right now, to those who don't know, this is a tier list, and basically it's a way of categorizing things from best to worst. So you're going to see some silly images here, and basically the idea is transportation companies, pre-revenue software startups, AI startups, car washes, senior home care living facilities, hotels, new construction of multifamily, and just a duplicate. And this is existing multifamily acquisition and single family fix and flip. So the categories we have are God level, meaning that you can get funding like this, very bankable, meaning it's really easy to fund, bankable, hard to fund, don't waste your time, people will pay you not to do this type of deal. So this is the worst thing you can ever do. And so this is just based on what we've seen. So I'd go from left to right. So let's see, transportation companies. So in earnest, I really haven't seen, I've seen a lot of people talk about transportation companies, and for some reason, there's just something about these transportation companies that people in our network are just having trouble like getting through the finish line. And it's just, we've seen a lot of other types of business acquisitions get done and people raise capital for them, but it's just this one that's a struggle. So I'll put this as hard to fund. And this is purely based on what we're experiencing, not based on anything, not anything like beyond that. But I'll try to also mention that generally these types of businesses are really asset light. They're cash flow, sometimes they're cash flow heavy, asset light. The equipment financing and lending that's available isn't really that crazy. So usually people will want to raise equity for these types of deals because the types of debt that people can find is not that substantial. These businesses, there's very little, there's usually always no real estate that's connected. And usually the types of lenders that would lend to these businesses won't really make it easy to fund 100%. So I'll just put this in the hard to fund, not because it's universally hard to fund, but just based on what I've seen and what some of the members have been complaining about. So let's go to another one. So pre-revenue software company. I'll put this as the worst possible. I personally know two people who have raised millions of dollars for their software companies, and they lived in San Francisco for almost 10 years. So I strongly recommend staying away from anything pre-revenue SaaS. For those in SaaS and pre-revenue startups, I recommend just bootstrap, or unless you actually know the business and you live with angel investors for years and understand that game. It's a game I don't understand, or Raises.com, we don't really participate too heavily in pre-revenue startups. So AI startups. So I put this as, if it's cash flowing, I put it at bankable just because of the hype. People are taking advantage over the hype. So take advantage of the hype if you want to, and it seems to be a very bankable thing to do right now. Because there are a lot of people that I've got reports that there are some people that are really interested in AI startups. So next, car washes. I'll put this as bankable mainly because one of our Raises.com clients actually acquired a car wash. And so I'll definitely put it as a bankable type of deal. It's very simple, especially for car washes that are cash flowing, they serve a business, and there's real estate attached. I'd put it in general as bankable because I've seen people making decent revenue, like online business level type of profit on it. And you also have the appreciation of real estate. So in general, I'd say it's definitely a really interesting bankable type of business, especially the ones that are simple. So next, senior home care living facilities. So I put this as God level. And the reason why I'm putting this at the top is because there was a span, I think in quarter 2 to quarter 3, 2023, we've seen a lot of success stories around senior home care living facilities. And these types of facilities are just fantastic in terms of the profit margins, the price that people are paying for some of the people that are serving these, the senior home care or the people in the senior citizens using the workspace, and the appreciation on the real estate is there. It's just, and plus, I guess the main thing is most people are either baby boomers or they're junior, like they're baby boomers or they're not baby boomers. And most people who are benefiting the most and have the most amount of wealth are baby boomers. And the people who are young, who are millennials, Gen Zs, etc., they depend on credit. So they don't really have much wealth. Most of the wealth is in the older class in North America and in the West. So because Canada, America, we're only mostly we're replenishing the youth by immigration. It's only America that's kind of trying to not do it as much, but the point I'm making is older people generally have the wealth, and then they're going to retirement facilities where they're able to afford these costs, and there are more old people than young people in the West. So it's just a business model that makes sense. And I've seen a lot of success around this. So hotels. So I'll put hotels in, where should I put hotels? I'll put hotels in bankable. And the reason why is because we had several people that own hotels who we're currently discussing with, and they walk through some of the process of owning hotels, and they say that, yeah, totally the coronavirus time of the year is over. And because of all that coronavirus hype is all over, people are really opening up to the hotels. And the only problem with hotels is that the revenue is very lumpy. So people that want to raise money from hotels, we've seen people that get excited in having something called a high hurdle rates. So for example, if a hotel makes a lot of profit for the people that participate in their deal, people will they'll have a bigger split of the funds that they get based on how much return the deal makes. So like you can have a 10% hurdle rate, you can have a 20% hurdle rate, you can have a 30% hurdle rate. That means if it makes 30% in a year, somebody would entitle themselves to a bigger profit split between them and potential people that fund the deal. So it's a lumpy business. So lumpy means like some months could be amazing, some months could be rough. So I definitely think it has come from hard to fund to bankable, especially coming out of the pandemic. And construction. So let's say multifamily construction. I would put this in, where would I put this? Multifamily construction. I would put it in, it definitely depends. There's definitely, this one I've seen all over the map. I'll put it more in harder to fund. And the reason why I'm doing that is because somebody has to be a really amazing developer for their transaction to be easier to fund, in my opinion. So there are some developers that I know that have a lot of experience that they would definitely have a home run in development. But then there are some people that, that aren't really as experienced, and they'll have such a hard time. The other thing is, I think the reason why it could be bankable, and I almost want to put it in between bankable and hard to fund, is because obviously it depends on the numbers, but in general, if somebody has high appreciation, then they can go to bankable. But the problem is there's this big hold period. So if people want to raise money for a development, there's this whole period of time that you have to wait before any cash flow can happen. So that's one problem. Another problem is there's something called, there's a zoning risk, there's permitting risk, and then there's licensing risk. So those types of risks prevents people have to spend money to check to see if you'll be allowed to even build the thing that you're supposed to build before it's quote unquote something called shovel ready, meaning that you're ready to build. So if it's a shovel ready deal and the numbers make sense and the person is experienced, then I put it in bankable. So let's just say this. Let's say this is for, the bankable one is if it's shovel ready and an experienced sponsor with good numbers. The hard to fund one is if it's not shovel ready and they're not good numbers. So let's just put it like this, right? And so this one is existing multifamily deal. I'll put this in bankable. The only reason why I'm not putting it in very bankable is depending on the deal and the interest rates. So at the time of the recording, the interest rates are really high. So people are really taking a nosedive when it comes to certain types of multifamily deals. And it's really hard for some people to find multifamily deals to acquire based on the types of interest rates that people are charging. But in general, man, like if it's cash flowing, it's a home run. And so I totally recommend it. And then the last one I'll do for today is the single family fix and flip. So I'll put single family fix and flip at, it really depends on the deal. So I can't really put a universal one, but let's just put it at bankable. I was tempted to put it at very bankable, but I'll put it at bankable because it really depends on the deal. This is just a single family fix and flip. It's not really as good of a mansion as it is here, but in general, I like fix and flip for a few reasons. One, you see BlackRock buying up single family, and they're buying up tons of them because we're in a unique spot where Americans are spending more than they ever have on rent, and the rental prices are also increasing, and renting has become such a norm. Gen Zs, millennials, the younger people are more used to renting and not owning things, whereas the senior generations, they're dying out, unfortunately, but it's just the reality is that they're dying out. People are going to be used to renting everything. So the result, people are going to need to get used to the idea of renting, and renting in build to rent type of housing is really popular. You also have the ability to fix and flip, and there are some people that many people can get into the business of fix and flipping, and I think single family houses, that's the easiest road for somebody to start being a fund manager, in my opinion. Because the problem with being a fund manager, if you want to acquire multiple deals at once and raise money for multiple deals, is it takes so much skill to acquire multiple commercial properties and have a fund around that, because acquiring one commercial property requires a lot of skill in and of itself. Whereas if you do a fund for that, it's so much skill. And plus, most people won't invest into somebody's first fund for a sophisticated type of underlying deal. But single family is very simple. Single family goes off the market quick, and single family fix and flip, it makes sense to do a fund for single family fix and flip because they go off the market quick. So I definitely would recommend people do single family fix and flip if in the future you want to do a fund in the short term. And it's something that the mass market can get into, because like almost anybody can get into it, because everybody understands, or I guess almost everybody will understand how a single residence would look like, how a single unit of house would look like, because everybody lives in one. So I think this is the thing that most people should get into, because everybody has access to it. It's universal. You don't have to be a hotel expert or a car wash expert. It's the most universal one. And I think a lot of the success just depends on the sponsor. So with this, that's my tier list. What do you think? Do you disagree? Do you agree? So if you like this video and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe to get entered in their giveaway. And if you need help to actually raise capital for something like this and you want to learn how you can get prepared to do so, make sure you head to raises.com to learn more. We'll see you in the next one.